It's lovely to be with you. I'd like to begin with a prayer. I heard on the way here that an important influencer on the American scene, Charlie Kirk, was shot while he was speaking in the University of Utah. It's horrific when political violence occupies our streets. We're particularly sensitive this year after two of our employees, Yaron Lashinsky and Sarah Milgram, were shot dead at an AJC event just a few blocks from here. We pray for his recovery. We pray that we don't have to face political violence at all, of any form, at any time. Kudos to the AJC on this event. My compliments on all the work you do across the globe. I was pretty surprised not to see Ted here, but I understand that he's in Israel. So we'll forgive him this time, but please tell him that I miss him. It's a great privilege to have His Excellency, the Ambassador from Azerbaijan, and I understand now His Excellency, the Ambassador of Armenia. And this is a historic moment, right? I mean, how many occasions have there been since they met at the White House and signed an agreement? And of course, the special advisor to the President of Azerbaijan, my dear friend, Dr. Hikmat. My staff, and I've got the best staff of any embassy in Washington, prepared remarks for me. And it's a good speech, I got to tell you. I was impressed. But I'm going to ask forgiveness from my staff because I'm going to speak extemporaneously, we say? Not really, because these are issues that I 24/7 live, eat, and breathe. And I'd like to address the elephant in the room. It's a little elephant called Doha. I don't know if you saw this, if you had a vision that, you'd have this conference one day after Doha and one day before September 11th. But you'll see in a few minutes, if I can do it in a few minutes, how this is related to a 5-year anniversary of the Abraham Accords. Okay, I'll try to weave it very quickly. We're in the month of September. We should be cognizant of the importance of time, where we are in time. So when I think of September, the first thing I think of is Black September. In 1970, when King Hussein of Jordan decided that he had enough of Palestinian terrorism. And he launched a military campaign against the Palestine Liberation Organization. A result of Black September was somewhere near 20,000 people who were killed, very short amount of time, and up to 30,000 people who were evicted from Jordan. Some might have said at the time that it wasn't proportional. Have you ever heard that expression before? Proportionality? But apparently, when he was contending with a terrorist organization intent on destroying his kingdom, threatened his country, he acted with determination and rid the country of that terrorist threat. September 1970. September 1972, we send a delegation to the Munich Olympics. And Palestinian terrorists murder our athletes. And then there was another prime minister of Israel, Golda Meir, may she rest in peace. And as a result, she gave an order to track down every single one of the terrorists and eliminate them. And the state of Israel didn't rest until that was done. Because she, like King Hussein, understood that terrorists are hunted and destroyed. September 11th, 3,000 people are killed in one day. In Israel, that would be the equivalent of our October 7th, is about 40 times September 11th. Just do the math. We're a country of 10 million people. You're a country of 330 million people. You do the math, it's 40 September 11th. And we all know that the United States launched a number of wars. We also know that the proportionality in Fallujah and Mosul was, shall we say, disproportionate to the proportionality of our campaign in Gaza. But what I want to point out in particular is that on September 28th, that same month, the United States presented a United Nations Security Resolution, 1373. That's September 28th, 2001. And the resolution reads, it obligates states to prevent and suppress the financing and support of terrorism, including the harboring of terrorists. It was a response to September 11th, and it was adopted by the UN Charter under Chapter 7. I repeat, to prevent and suppress the financing and support of terrorism, including the harboring of terrorists. Now, what is Qatar doing if not financing and supporting terrorism by playing host to Hamas, the very people who sent the terrorists who murdered 6 people sitting at a bus stop in Jerusalem, waiting to go about their business. They were husbands, they were fathers, they were sons, and one pregnant woman. Who sent them? The terrorists we targeted in Doha. They celebrated the murder of these 6 innocents the same way they celebrated on camera the slaughter of 1,200 innocents on October 7th. So Israel acted in the context of what any normal country does. It pursues terrorists and it eliminates them, like King Hussein, like Golda Meir, like the United States of America. Why is that so important to understand as we celebrate 5 years of the Abraham Accords? We're standing alone right now. It's lonely out there, right? Abraham stood alone. Abraham was a very lonely guy. Abraham said to a world that believed that man made God, as historian Max DeMont wrote, Abraham said to a world that said man made God, he said, no, God makes man. It was a revolutionary idea. The Abrahamic faiths, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam followed that Abrahamic message. But for a time, it was lonely. He was a revolutionary thinker, Abraham. But over centuries, it caught on. We led the ideational battle. Jesus picked it up, moved it forward to the masses, as did Muhammad later. Christianity had a Reformation 1,500 years after Jesus. And as Professor Bernard Lewis often said, Islam has not yet had its Reformation. And we are now 1,500 years after Muhammad. And there is a battle within Islam. That battle is over whether or not there's going to be an accommodation of Western civilization or not. Are we intent on conquering Western civilization? Are we intent on conquering the Judeo-Christian civilization? Or are we going to accommodate and live side by side Islamic civilization, the great Islamic civilization next to the great Judeo-Christian civilization? That's the battle taking place. And the terrorists, whether in Black September in Jordan, or in Munich, or in Doha, or in Gaza, represent an ideology which says, no, we're not going to accommodate Western civilization. We have to defeat it. And so, if you want to defeat Western civilization, what would be the first thing you do? Listen to what they say. Listen to what they say. The first thing you're going to do is destroy Israel. Because Israel is this Judeo-Christian civilization transplant in the middle of Islam. So what you've got to do is destroy it. Remember that expression that Ahmadinejad was propagandizing around the world? We're the little Satan. America's the big Satan. That's exactly what he means. We're first, and that's why the first ballistic missiles they built were fired at us. But the distance that they created in their ballistic missiles is enough to, believe it or not, Emmanuel Macron, listening, hit France, other end of Europe. But their space program, they called it, was an intercontinental ballistic missile program to hit the United States. And what Iran did, because the Abraham Accords was moving forward, and because they feared that within this battle within Islam, the Abraham Accords, the accommodationist approach to Israel and the West would win out, they created this idea of a ring of fire. And the ring of fire meant that Iranian proxies with Hamas in the southwest and the Houthis in the southeast and the Hezbollah in the north and Hezbollah Syria and Hezbollah Iraq and the Assad regime would attack all together. And then, as our borders were attacked and our civilians slaughtered, Iran would fire missiles to the center of the country, preventing our reservists from being called up. You know the size of Israel. Israel's a tiny little country. I just flew back from Indiana. Israel fits into Indiana. Indiana, one state of the United States, 4.5 times. We're a tiny little country. Our whole width, with Judea and Samaria, is 40 miles. So if we were going to get hit with missiles, ballistic missiles in the center of the country, while we're being attacked all around our periphery, the idea was this ring of fire would overcome Israel's conventional power. And that's why the significance of taking down Iran's nuclear program and its ballistic missile program through Rising Lion and through Midnight Hammer, and by defeating the proxies that are still standing, predominantly that of Hamas, what we're doing is advancing not only Israel's security, but the possibility of going into an Abraham Accord mode 2.0, because we are empowering the moderate elements within Islam. There are those visionaries who have already seen that, right? A predominantly Shiite Muslim country that is not only working towards deepening the relationship on all levels, military, cultural, but is actually serving as a bridge for Israel into Central Asia. Imagine that. All of these Muslim countries adopting, embracing Israel, and Israel embracing them. Think of how much we can accomplish. I heard Senator Rosen talk about water. If we work together to solve food insecurity, think about it, ladies and gentlemen. In a 5-kilometer radius of Tel Aviv, we have all the technological solutions to food insecurity. We just need to work together. And if we still have an idea out there that Israel can be destroyed, and we have people working towards that end, the destruction of Israel, we're not going to be able to get there. So when we hit terrorists in Doha, we are acting in the context of UN Charter, of international law, in the cause of sanity and morality. How can we have people sitting, having Thanksgiving dinners every day as they direct their minions to slaughter innocent people? And as the Prime Minister said, as we mark this 5th year of Abraham Accords, we have put terrorists on notice, wherever they may be, like King Hussein and like Golda before us, and like the United States in pursuit of those responsible for September 11th, we're going to pursue them. And we're going to destroy those who will destroy us, which will enable us to live and bring Western civilization into an area which has barely penetrated, to live side by side with our Muslim neighbors, to develop a future in which humanity will benefit, and together will raise the Human Development Index and advance humanity. That's what Abraham had in mind back then when he said, it's not man who creates God, it's God who creates man. We're acting in his shadow. And we have the possibility. It's difficult because we're in the battlefield now. It's hard to raise our heads and see the sunlight because the war isn't over. But it's going to be over soon. And when it's over, we're going to be able to see a path forward. There are those who say, why aren't you preparing the day after? Well, let me tell you, we're preparing the day after. The day after is going to be brilliant. And for it to succeed, we can't talk too much about it. And it certainly can't be an Israel-sponsored day after to ensure its success. So we'll push forward, we'll take the criticism, but we're going to work together with you, together with wonderful organizations like the AJC and the administration, the Congress. There has never been a closer collaboration between Israel and the American government and the American people as there was on the days leading up to Rising Lion and Midnight Hammer, and that continues to take place. Despite issues that you might hear here and there, the collaboration is deep, it is broad, it is ideological, it is ideational, it is interest-beared, and we're going to move forward, please God, to Abraham Accords 2.0. And I don't know where I'll be in 5 years, but I know AJC will be here, ever stronger than you are today. And I would ask you to please invite me, even if I'm just like a little guy in a think tank, to come here and celebrate Abraham Accords' 10th anniversary. Thank you so much.